Welcome to the Embrace Her Legacy podcast, the #1 personal development classroom for millennial women, hosted by Embrace Her Legacy founder and CEO, Maria Melendez. Ladies, get ready to evoke your feminine confidence and be inspired to master your relationship with yourself so you can fabulously live your legacy. If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. Don't forget to visit us at embraceherlegacy.com, where you can support our mission by making a donation of any amount or sign up to become part of our community of volunteers and supporters, the Embrace Her Legacy Collective. Our vision is for every woman and every girl to defeat her inner saboteur, master her relationship with self, and live out her legacy unapologetically. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Embrace Her Legacy podcast. This is the spring-summer season 2022, and today's guest is super special to me. As you all know, I always like to bring in people who I admire, who have poured into my life, who I know we're going to pour into you. Today's topic is called I Hate My Job. Now, what do? I know that probably resonates with a lot of people who are listening, but our special guest, she happens to be a mentor of mine, but she just also happens to be an expert thought leader in success strategies and leadership development. She's a speaker and author, one of the authors of one of my favorite books that I read at the beginning of my career that helped me so much, called The Little Black Book of Success, Laws of Leadership for Black Women. Her name is Marsha Haygood. Welcome, Marsha.
Hello. It is so exciting. I'm so excited to see you and be with you and talk to you. Love you, darling.
Oh my goodness, guys, just to give y'all context, like me and Marsha were just like chopping it up before we started recording, and she's telling me that this book is 12 years old, and I'm like, how? And she's like, but think about when we met. I literally met Marsha like at the very beginning when I was at Atlantic. It could not have been past 2009, and to just see where everyone is now and to just have this sort of relationship with women who have poured into me just means so much to me. Like, I wouldn't be who I am with the woman whose shoulders I stand on, and Marsha is one of those women who
Thank you.
took me under her wing and really just poured into me. So when I thought about talking about career and job, there was only one person that I knew could fit the bill. And I tried to do this last season, but I know, Marsha, I think like our schedules didn't align or something. So I said, let's do it again. Let's try. So I've been trying to get this episode out because I know a lot of people hate their job. And the reason and I like to start and let our audience know what was the inspiration. Literally last year with the Great Resignation, and even in my network, and just seeing so many of my friends and people I know just frustrated with their jobs, and people just resigning left and right. And I really just wanted to have an open dialogue with the conversation geared towards millennial women of color and Gen Z girls of color on just career pivoting, dealing with job frustration, and how to really establish a purposeful career. So I just want to start with some research that we did on an article on Zippia.com. This is a career resource website, conducted a study of 1,000 workers across the U.S. to better understand worker dissatisfaction in the workplace, including root causes and effects of disengaged employees. 50% of workers dislike their job. So that means we're going to guesstimate that half of the people listening do not like their job. The average person will spend 90,000 hours at work over a lifetime. So for the 50% of people that don't like their job, that's almost 1/3 of their life that they are spending unhappy. And another article that's is called 15 Signs You Hate Your Job. So quote says, when you enjoy your work and you're passionate about your career, you'll be more likely to stay motivated, support your colleagues, and work toward common goals for the organization's success. In addition to having a higher motivation, having a passion for your work can boost your morale and job satisfaction, both of which can influence your performance, productivity, and ability to build positive relationships in the workplace. So, Marsha, since you are one of the career coaches out here, and I know you have the inside, because I know people tell you this all the time. Why do you think people stay so long at a job they hate?
You know, I think that most people will tell you money. That's usually what the first instinct. However, I think it's because they don't know what to do next. You know, I talk to career women of color. These are professional women of color. Some of them are at a pretty high level, by the way. It doesn't start just when you first go into your first job. It could be across the board. And understand, I think money is only a motivator on payday. And the other 9 days, you're like, oh boy, I can't wait to get out of here. You know, so I tell my clients, I tell women to think about your why. You know, think about the why you're there, and think about what you hate about the job and why you want to leave. There's a why both ways. Let's talk about why you came in the first place. What made you take that job? What is it that you were looking for? Yes, money, but what are some of the other things? And what happened to them? You know, if it's that, you know, you loved what you were doing, even though the salary was low, but you loved what you're doing and now you need more money, that's one thing. And you don't have to just hate your job. You can do some things to try to get more money. And oftentimes people don't even do the ask. You know, you've heard me say, ask for what you want to get what you need, but be prepared for the consequences of that. Be prepared to show why what value you bring. And far too often I've heard women say, well, I go to work every day and I work hard. And I say, and yeah, and you get paid every week or every 2 weeks for coming to work. And you work hard because you want to get something. So demonstrate the value. You know, busy, so many people say that they were busy, and they think of busy as sort of a glorified thing to say. Being busy does not mean that you were productive. What value do you bring? And be able to articulate that. That requires the hard work. That's where the hard work comes in. Why does the company need to value you? What do you offer? So when you can demonstrate that, then you could go in and ask for more money. You can ask for very specific things because you're giving them what they need. And especially now, you know, especially now.
That's so good, Marsha. And I think that one of the things I tell students when I'm coaching them and mentoring them as well, and I'm like, listen, like, that's great. You went to college, great. And now you think that you're at your first job, your first gig, and the red carpet is going to be rolled out for you. And it's like, no one cares, right? And I hear that. I think that's something, and I remember, oh, your book, this is the first time I heard it 12 years ago. And you were talking about, a lot of us were taught, especially as women of color, that if you get up, you go to work, you do a good job, it will be rewarded. And I like to say that is hogwash and baloney.
That's
you
exactly.
have to speak up for yourself. So what advice do you give to like young women, whether she's in her 20s or her 30s, that is struggling with articulating the value that she brings to the company?
I think that's the time. That's one of the things that I do. One of the things that you do is help young women discuss their story. Because we've been taught a lot of things that are counterproductive to what we do. First of all, we were all taught to, go to work, get a good job, put your head down, work hard. First of all, if you put your head down, you miss a lot of opportunities. So putting your head down, you got to lift your head up and watch what's going on around you. Two, you have to know how to network. And part of networking is having a discussion, knowing how to have a discussion. And please don't let me forget to talk about understanding brag bites.
Let's talk about it now. You brought it up. You brought it up.
You want to talk about some things that you've done, not in a way that's bragging, in a way that sort of shares something about you. So Maria, if you talk about, hi, I'm Maria. Yes, I'm loving what I'm doing. And I have this podcast and I started this program and it's Embrace Your Legacy. And I'd love for you to join me. You're not saying, hey, I got all of this in a bag of chips. You're sharing something about yourself that other people will want to ask about. You want to say, maybe you'll say something like, I can't meet with you on Thursdays because on Thursdays I do taping, but I'd love to meet with you another day. That begs a question. What are you taping about, Maria?
That's good.
Brag bite. That's a brag bite. So you want to be able to share something. And if you can't come up with something that you can share, that's a brag bite, then you're not either giving yourself enough time or you don't have a value that you're bringing. So let's get real and say the company doesn't owe you something more than you owe it and that you owe yourself. So you need to think about your story, why you're there. And sometimes, I dare say most times, money is just a motivator on payday. The rest of the time, what is it that you can be getting from that job? What's your why? Why did you go there in the first place? Is it because you wanted to meet new people? Is it because you wanted to learn a new skill? Is it because you needed those benefits? Is it what was it? And then when did it stop that made you start hating the job? And did it stop or did you stop going after it? So it's a two-way street here.
It's a lot. And one of the things that we hear a lot of people say is, do what you love and the money will come, right? I want to jump into that a little bit and say, do you believe that? And does someone always have to sacrifice that pay for a job they're passionate about? How can someone find passion and joy in what they do and also make some money off of it?
Well, I do believe that do what you love and the money will come. And let me tell you why I believe that. It doesn't come right away, maybe.
So it doesn't.
But I think it does come. And it comes because you are so hyped about it, that you're giving your best self all the time. You're not worried about, oh my goodness, I got to go back to that job again today. If you love what you do, then yeah, I think it will come because other people will show. You know how many times people look for mentors and sponsors. Sponsors are looking at you. You don't know they're looking at you, but they're looking at how you react to things. So those people who say, I don't have a sponsor, oftentimes it's because they haven't been showing their best selves to people who can sponsor them. I don't want to lay my chips down and put my name down for you if you have a bad attitude, or if you have a blasé attitude, or if you're always tired and you're always lazy and you're always complaining. Guess what? I might like you, but I'm not laying chips down for you.
Right.
Right. So I think that we control a lot of this. And I'd go back to say, It shouldn't be even a great resignation. It should be a great pivot or great restructure. I don't want you to resign. Don't resign because you hate your job, because the reason that you're saying you hate your job is because what? Not getting paid enough money, don't like the benefits, don't like the people I work with, not getting the visibility. And then you quit your job, and which one of those have you have you gotten now? Probably none of them. If you haven't put a plan in place to go to a place that offers that, but that you have something to offer as well.
Now, we talked about like it shouldn't be the great resignation, it should be a great pivot, which I think is amazing. But when is it time that you know it's time to move on? It's time to let go. It's like, okay, I tried, Marsha. I tried. I did the brag bites. They did it.
I say, what have you tried? Why are you leaving? First of all, why do you want to leave? What do you hate about it?
Okay.
What have you tried?
Okay.
And how have you planned for the next experience?
Oh, come on, Marsha. Come on.
You know, if you haven't planned, then where you going?
Right. Right.
With your attitude of I hate my job. You know, where are you going with that? So I say you do some planning. And if you've put up with a job that you didn't like for this long, however this long is, put up with it a little longer while you look for something that you really want to do. So, and that example means that you have to work. I mean, finding another job is hard.
Yes.
That's a job. Finding a job is a job that you're going to really like. You know, everybody has a sign up saying we're now hiring. But do you want to work there? So you need to do some research. So what is it about you that you think you can offer a company, and what do you want that company to offer you? But it has to be a two-way street. It's not, I'm just going to go find another job because I don't like this one. It's, I'm going to find another job because I think I can do better offering my services and get something in return from another company. So I tell my clients all the time, I want you researching, and I want you to name 5 companies, a minimum of 5 companies that you think you want to work at, and then research the hell out of them. You want to know what they're saying, who their sponsors are. You want to get on and Google them like you would Google your friends and people who you want to know about. I want you to look at the LinkedIn profiles of people. I want you to do some research. That takes time.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to resign tomorrow because you didn't do your research yet. So you can stay at that job that you don't like a little longer. And you know what? Do a mind shift. If you say, I'm really going to be out of here, then change your attitude, because if you hate your job, your attitude is showing.
Right.
Change your attitude a little bit, because you also want to get good references and you don't know who knows someone. Okay. If you're going to go into business like you and I did, then you want to do some practice so that you can get some people talking about you and can say, not only Marsha and Maria, they're nice people, but I worked with Maria and you know what? She does this very well. I worked with Marsha and she did this very well. You can get some testimonials. And you know what? While you're getting paid at that job you hate, gives you time to practice and demonstrate what you can do, whether it be at your church or in your community or with people who need your services. And dare say, what do you do very well? What is it that you're looking for? And oftentimes I ask people about what they're looking for next. And quite frankly, a lot of them don't know. So going to someplace else, you're just going to hate that one too down the road a bit. So what is it? You know, start planning it out. Plan for your own success.
That's good. So it seems like everything comes back to having a plan, like
Absolutely.
having a plan, right? Now,
Absolutely.
we are also, I like to consider just our audience and where they can be, right, in career, right? So there
Mhm,
are some youngins that are
mhm,
listening. And one of the things that I think I learned from you and a lot of my mentors at the very beginning of my career was, Maria, you're gonna have to pay your dues. Like you understand, like you want you like, check your attitude. Like, we get it. You're smart, you're amazing, but you have to pay your dues. So, what advice do you give to, let's say, a young woman, recent college graduate, let's say in that entry
mhm.
level, right? And how does she discern the difference between paying her dues and enduring, right? Like, okay, I got to pay my dues. And then when it's time to move on to the
I,
next
I think it goes hand in hand. I
one.
think you're paying your dues while you're gaining experience, gaining exposure, having the right attitude to meet the right people. So oftentimes that's the why. The why is I'm going to go to this job. I kind of like it. Their reputation seems pretty good. The job's not so bad, but you know what? If I'm at this job, I can meet these kind of people. I can learn this new skill. I can show my stuff by doing some extra. And in the Little Black Book, we talk about people doing, people say, I'm doing 3 jobs. No, you're not. You're doing 3 things during the course of the same amount of time you were going to spend anyway. But what you can talk about is what you've learned from doing those 3 jobs and how you can combine those things. And you also can sort of flaunt it, especially if nobody's doing it, because nobody can tell you you're doing it poorly if nobody was doing it at all before. So use it, become strategic in your approach. I teach strategy. That's what I talk about. I'm talking about take away the emotion from this. Let's get strategic about the process so that you can down the road, you by the time you get to my age, you want to know better. You want to know a whole lot better. You don't want to still be angry. You don't still want to be hating your job. So what is it that you really, really want to do? And how can you move forward with purpose to get closer to it? And that comes in a lot of ways. But it all is about you. You're in charge of that.
I think a lot of people feel like they're not in charge of that. I think
But they
that's
are.
and I think that's what it is. I think it's first coming to the realization that you are in charge of that. I think people feel like sometimes like, okay, I have no control. And it's like, yes, you do. Think planning, think strategy, right? Now you
Absolutely.
said, I love how you said it should be a pivot. Now,
Right.
I grew up in a generation, and I feel like generation prior would stay at a job for 20, 30, 40, 50
Yeah.
years.
Mm-hmm.
We now know that that is not how it is anymore, right? So, what advice do you give to someone who maybe majored in a degree, worked in a certain field, and now they're like, honey, I don't want to have anything to do with this industry anymore. And now not only are they want to pivot jobs, they want to pivot career. Like, I was in this field like a me. I was in the music industry and now I'm over here doing my nonprofit and doing. So, what advice do you give when you
But you
realize?
didn't just decide that. That didn't start. That you didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I want to change careers.
No.
So you start again. Here we go back to that same thing, that plan. So you say, I'm in the music. I remember when you were in the music industry. I remember when you were going to start your organization. I remember that. But what you were doing is having that round table with women. Remember that? Right.
Marsha said throwback.
We were weren't talking about the music industry. We
Uh-huh.
were talking about what's next in your life.
Mhm.
You should have some, think, think, think out a bit. What do you want the result to be? And then back into that, what are some of the things that you can do to help you get into that? So you wanted to meet the right people. We talked about this. You said, I
Yeah.
need to meet the right people. I want to understand nonprofit. I want to work with young women. I
Mhm.
want to do all of that. It's like they're not coming and knocking on your door in your office at Atlantic. You got to get out there. Go tell people, talk to young women, see what they want. You know, talk to people who have nonprofit agencies or nonprofit organizations. See what they've run into. What are some of the things that people look for? Right now, I mean, we have more information on digitally on social media. And instead of looking at how many likes you got because you wore this cute dress, instead look at what somebody who you admire, look for people you admire and then follow them. Not because they got a cute dress, but because they have an organization that you say, oh, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Maybe you're going to volunteer some time. Maybe you're going to donate some money. Maybe you're just going to come and speak. you know,
Mhm.
but you want to do some things that people will recognize are valuable to them, but it's also valuable to you. And that doesn't come in a day.
At
So
all.
if you're thinking, I don't want to do this anymore, think about what it is you want to do and what are some of the things you can do to be to get in that area
Mhm.
somewhat without it being a job. Because if you have no experience in that area, you may not make that money right away. But if you're known for doing that, you're going to meet some people who can help you.
That's amazing, Marsha. You are so right. You took a throwback. I remember we were at a roundtable discussion. I don't even remember where, who, how, but it had something to do with women. And I think one of the valuable nuggets that I learned early in my career is I knew that I always wanted to end up doing something with women, right? And one of the things you said was volunteering. Like I I would go to the Essence events and I would go to all these women empowerment conferences, and you
That's
just,
right.
like you said, start speaking about what you want to do, and you meet people, and one person connects you to another, like, oh, would you like to do this? And then that's how you build your circle of influence, so that when it is time to pivot, whether it is to start your business or maybe go into a whole new career, you kind of already gotten your feet wet a little bit. So I
Yes.
want to talk to the importance of building relationships
Oh, yeah.
and networking. I don't think we understand the value of relationships. And it is now like, now that I'm further down my career, that I understand, this is so important. So, what are some powerful relationship building tips that one can take from job to job, industry to industry?
Mhm. The first word that I would say is nurture. Nurture relationships and start with the people you know. Most people say, I need to meet this person. I need to meet that. Wherever you are in your career and in your life, there is someone who helped you get there. And think about, when is the last time you spoke to them? How about that? When's the last time that you just said thank you? Have you checked on them during the pandemic?
Mhm.
How about just sending a note? I like a call. I'm somebody who picks up the phone, but you don't
Marsha
have to
has
be.
picked up the phone and called me, and she'll be like, I know it's been a long time, but I'm just checking in on you just
Check
to see how
in.
you're doing. Yes,
That's right.
yes.
Check in with people. So call, email, text people and say, how you doing? Just thinking about you. Just wanted you to know that I had you crossed my mind.
Mhm.
You can also add, is there anything I can do to support you? How about that? They're not going to ask you for $1 million. Don't worry. You don't have to worry. But if they have something that they say that you find, wow, I could do that, or I saw something about that. And sometimes it's something that they say that they want to do, and you say, oh, I just read an article about that. Send them the article. Or, oh my goodness, I just heard about an app that does that. Send them the name of the app. Do something. So that's the nurturing part. Then you can also go outside of that, but you should probably have a pretty big network that you haven't nurtured yet. That's usually the case. And then go further. You share a little bit, something about yourself, not asking for anything. If my first call from you is an ask, it's a turnoff. It just is. You just want to see how someone is doing. So ask them how you can help them. And then can we stay in touch? Would love to stay in touch with you. And if it's anything you need, let me know. If it's anybody I can introduce you to, let me know. So you want to start that way. The nurturing is the networking is nurturing. It's a two-way street. It's reciprocal.
The networking is nurturing. That is quotable, tweetable, everything.
All of that stuff.
All of that good stuff. So the networking, how do you deal with that in an environment where you don't like your job, right? So it's
do it outside of the job. You can do it any place.
Okay.
You can do it in your company. You can do it. I happen to like LinkedIn because it's business. I want to join groups that may have something to do with an area of interest of mine. It might not be a business interest, but it's an interest of mine. And even if I don't have anything to say, I want to listen to the chatter. I want to go to the group meeting. I want to, hear what they have to say, because sometimes I can interject something and people will remember because I interjected or I shared something. So your circle gets a little bit bigger. But let me just say this because it's so important. If you're the smartest person in your circle, then your circle is too small. It's just way too small. So there should be some people at different levels, and you shouldn't be intimidated by it. Because everyone can use something. So I would get people who would say to me, you know what? I didn't do it because, they don't need anything. I was like, how do you know? You didn't ask.
You didn't ask. You didn't ask. I love that. I love that. So let's now we're talking about asking, Marsha. Now, all right. So how does someone ask for more, or better yet, articulate their frustrations with their job to their superiors and to, maybe their colleagues at work? How do you say, I hate my job in the nicest way?
How do you say I hate my job in a nice way? Well, I think you don't complain about it. Instead, you do a plan. Here again, is strategy. I think you say, okay, what I'm not liking about my job is my salary. Okay. Oh, I don't get to. I'm not visible enough. Whatever it is, then you talk about an example of that in a way that shows them that it'll be a positive experience for them as well. So if I'm going to talk about money, and I've done this before, and I've told clients to do this before, don't just talk about money because I want more money and I think I deserve more. Talk about some things that you are doing. I used to tell you, and you've heard me say this, I carry a little book with me because I'm taking notes. I keep notes of all the things that I've done that would qualify me to make more money. It's not because I came to work today. That didn't get me more money. But I put in this plan to do such and such and such and such, and it has demonstrated that the company can make more money or the organization is better off for doing it this way. You need to look at that. If you're not doing that, if you're not keeping account of the things that you do well, you need to start immediately. Go back and think about them now. Get a little book. Wait. I have two.
Two books.
This one is my accomplishment book. I call it, you see, it says yes on it. This is affirmations and yeses.
Okay.
So this one says, I did it. I got it accomplished. This one, I'm taking notes because I want to make sure that I'm keeping notes of some of the things that I'm doing and how they end up turning out, because they're not going to get me more right now, but they will down the road. Even if I'm writing my resume, I could go back to this book and say, these are some of the things that I accomplished or that I did. So you need to keep track. This is where you're in control again. You're in control of some of the things that you've done. So do that. It may mean when we were in the office, people used to say to me, I'd ask to meet with someone, and I was the executive vice president. So I could tell people to come to my office, but I'd like to go to their office.
Okay.
Because going to their office tells me something about them that they may not have shared. I want to know if they have a picture of the dog, the cat, or the kids.
That's good.
Right? I want to know something about them. I want to know if they like cold weather or warm weather. Is it a picture of them on the skis or a picture of them laying on the beach? I'm going to look at their Facebook page. I'm checking it out because I want to talk their language. Because people like to talk about themselves. So if you can do that, you can get information that you can feed back. And you know what? People like people who like them. Right? Yeah. So you want to talk their language.
Hey, I have someone ringing my doorbell. So 2 seconds, everybody.
Okay.
I kind of figured that was going to happen today. I said, why? It never happens. They normally leave my packages in front, but today they said, okay, like she's recording.
She's recording. Let's stop that. And you have to be flexible. That's exactly right.
We're home, everyone. So we got to be flexible. Yeah. So I want to also talk to you, Marsha, real quick about because you say have this plan, right? But you also said we have to check our attitude. Okay. And I know, Marsha, when I was on, like, I'll tell y'all this. When I was leaving Atlantic, I remember more than one person said, you have looked so unhappy for a long time. We know this is something you need to do. I could not hide my emotions, right? But how does someone not only keep a good attitude, but still have that same level of productivity and increase that productivity while they're in that, planning, next step? How do they deal with that?
I think that's where affirmations and knowing yourself comes into play. Okay. I think we've all had a time when we said, okay, enough is enough. However, what that would do for me, I knew that, first of all, one of the things that you should know is your best time of the day. What's your best time of the day?
Oh, tell us more about that, Marsha, because I think I know my best time, but go ahead.
Okay, but if your best time in the morning, that's when you want to You want to do things or socialize with or be seen by the people who make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to spend your best time of the day on Facebook.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is there should be some affirmations. What interests you? What inspires you? What makes you happy? And do as much of that as possible. Sometimes it's taking a walk outside. Sometimes it's doing an exercise. I would say to some of my clients, they say, oh my goodness, by 2:00, I just want to scream. Say that should be the time that you make an appointment on your shared calendar with your alias. Pick a name. Mine was Mia.
Uh-huh.
Mia would be on my calendar so people wouldn't interrupt me and I could close the door so that they wouldn't see the other side.
Oh, that's so good, Marsha. So good.
I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to deal with you right now. But you need to be able to calm yourself down. There are a lot of apps out now that weren't out when I left the corporate arena. Pick one, pick Calm, pick Breathable, pick Insights. Pick something that's gonna mellow you out so that your neutral face doesn't look like you're angry. And I say that especially to women of color because they're already thinking angry Black woman, and you're not even angry yet. So you don't want to demonstrate anger. And people who piss you off, and they're always going to be some, they're going to piss you off ahead of time. Learn some things to say to back out of that situation. Learn some things to say to back out that situation. They're going to say some things. You just need to say, mine used to be, that's interesting. I need to think about that a little more. I'd be backing away, backing right out of it. But you know what these triggers are. At this point, we already know what the triggers are.
Yeah.
And you know how you get home and you say, what I should have said is. Learn what those are ahead of time so that they're already at your fingertips because somebody's going to do it again. Back away from it. The consequences, we've all seen this recently, the consequences of being angry can hurt your career.
Oh gosh, Marsha, this is something that is when me and my friends talk about this angry Black woman thing, sometimes, and just echoing some of the sentiments of my friends, we feel like we can't always speak up for ourselves the way we want to because we're so fearful of being stigmatized as the angry Black woman, right?
But you don't say it then because you are angry then. When they say it, you are angry. So that's when you say, that's interesting. I'd like to think about that a little bit more and come back to you a little bit later. I used to say this, there was a woman who used to always annoy me. Everything she said, even if she didn't mean, now I'm thinking back on it, she may not have meant all of the things to make me angry, but they made me angry anyway, probably because I didn't like her. Okay. So my thought was to back away and say, that's interesting. I eventually started to say, you say things like that all the time. Do you mean to be annoying? Or do you mean to be arrogant? Or do you mean to say nasty things to me? Or are you just saying something? Because it is truly annoying.
Wow.
But that's not, and when I say that to her, I wasn't angry because I had given myself that 24 hours to say, Okay, here she comes again.
Got
So
it.
learn yourself. Again, you control. You control this. So it doesn't mean you have to let people beat you up. You're going to set boundaries, but you're going to set boundaries in a strategic way versus an emotional way.
That part, Marsha. How do we set boundaries in the workplace, especially because we're remote? A lot of us are still remote. We're home. The lines have been blurred. How do we set healthy boundaries? Like you said, you have Mia on your calendar. What do we do to make sure, that we're okay?
Okay, let's talk about it. So one of the things that happen, and I hear this often, is that all of a sudden now people are calling, or they set these meetings at lunchtime when I have to feed the kids, or they call me after work, and they send in emails and all of those things that go on. Mm-hmm. I say, if you say, I'm out of here at 6, I'm offline at 6, then you don't answer the email at 7 o'clock. Don't answer it. And then the next morning you can answer it and say, I just saw your email and this is the answer. It's not an emergency. Mm-hmm. You teach people how to treat you.
There you go.
If you say, I'm down for lunch, then don't answer at lunch.
Right.
Or you can say to people, between 12 and 1, I will be offline. Mm-hmm. And then be offline. Mm-hmm. You start to set those boundaries, and you can't be shy about saying what those boundaries are. Now, they need to be reasonable. You can't say, I'll never take a call before 9 o'clock. Sometimes it's going to be that you have to take the call. But usually people will tell you, I'm going to need to call you early tomorrow because we're doing this project in one being. I did that with you today. Mm-hmm. I said, you know what? Do you want me to get on a few minutes early? And you said, no. It's fine. You could do it then. But if you had said, oh no, because I said 3 and that's what I meant by 3, I would have said, okay. But the attitude shift would have been different, Mm-hmm. So you set boundaries, but you let people know what those boundaries are. Don't assume that they're going to know just because.
Oh, Marsha, one of my sole frustrations of the music industry was there were no boundaries. Like especially when you work, and people listening who work in that type of high demand, celebrity type, mm-hmm. world. It's just like everything needs to get done today. And oftentimes everything needs to get done 20 years ago. Like it was like, we need it yesterday. Yeah. And oftentimes I remember one of my frustrations was feeling like, oh my gosh, we are not saving people's lives. Like, why is everyone making a big deal out of this? And I often felt like my voice didn't matter. It came with the job. Like I knew what I got myself into. Well, I didn't know. But once I was in, I'm like, oh, so this is the work culture. And to the point that I realized that had a level of toxicity to it.
That's right.
So what advice do you give to someone who is in a toxic work environment that doesn't necessarily, now things may be different because, we have open conversations, but I guess an environment where it isn't as, pliable and flexible when it comes to boundaries.
Well, it means having a conversation, and it means having a conversation. Again, I say before you're angry. I can do sometimes it's what you want to give up because you want to get something. But if you don't know what you're trying to get, then it's hard to say what you want to give up.
That's good. Okay.
So what is it that you're trying to get? It may be that you really want to get noticed in that field. Mm-hmm. So you say, you know what? I can do, if anybody needs something, the person who is calling at all times of night and doing, if anybody needs something, Thursdays are the best days for me. So you sort of set your own boundary. I'll be around, I'm usually off by 5, but on Thursdays, I can be available until 7 should you need it.
Okay.
But you have to be confident enough to be able to say it, and you can't assume that people will know otherwise. If you're not willing to say it, they don't know otherwise. Or if they do, they don't care because they assume you don't care. And because you answer and they get what they need. Remember, I come from the entertainment industry too.
Right. Okay.
Same rule applies.
Same rule applies. Any industry that matters. And all industries.
All industries. I mean, I work with people in the finance industry, they say the exact same thing.
Really?
Oh, exact same thing.
Wow. Sometimes I just remember, Marsha, that level of frustration and just feeling like, okay, I really don't. Again, going back to that feeling like I don't have control. Like, it's just like, I don't have my life. Like, I'm at the demand of my then BlackBerry.
Yeah, right. Then BlackBerry. Right.
My then BlackBerry. So I can see how that can be. It can be frustrating when you feel like you always have to be at the mercy of your phone, your back then it was your BlackBerry. And how
but it's sometimes it's telling people, and oftentimes it's not even that people want it right then. They just want to get it out of their head or off their head.
Oh, that's good.
So sometimes it's not that they want you to do it, but you do it and you're angry about doing it, but you do it. So it's sometimes saying, I see that you usually send messages at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I see them in the morning when I turn my BlackBerry when I turn my BlackBerry back on. But I don't see them at night. So it's not even that I'm ignoring you, even though you are. Not that I'm ignoring you, it's that I don't keep it on after. And I tell people that now, I turn my cell phone off at 8.
You turn it off?
Off. It's not, and forget about it being in another room or silent. It's off.
Wow, I turn mine on do not disturb. Like, it's not off, but it's
off. I'll see it in the morning.
Get out, Marsha. How does it work for you?
It works wonderfully. The only time I have my phone on past 8 o'clock is if I'm out.
Okay.
And it's just if I need to know something out. But otherwise, I turn it off. And I've had my own business successful for 17 years.
Now, come on, Marsha, you got to tell the people about your business. Now, we talk about I want you to share a little bit about your story, how you've come to be who you are today.
And here is where I talk about do what you love and it'll follow. Because I love talking, can you tell? And I learn from experiences, both my experiences and everybody else's experiences. So as a leadership coach, my goal is to help you. My whole mission is to help you be both happy and successful. And it comes with a mindset shift sometimes, and some tools and strategies that go along the way for you to try. Because if you've always done what you've always done, you're going to always get what you always have gotten. So why not try something a little bit different? Take small steps and do things a little bit different, but you first have to know where you're going. That's you and I talked about this. Set up your GPS. Where do you want to go? What do you want to happen? And then think of all the wonderful possibilities out there to help you get there, and then try them. Not all at once, but you need to step out of your comfort zone. So it means doing something a little bit different, trying things a little bit different. So maybe if you have your phone on normally until all night, then maybe you put it on do not disturb before you go to bed. Maybe you back it up to another time. you back it up to 8. I back mine up to 8 because chances are I'm still sitting around my office, but my office is my company. It's not somebody else's company. And guess what? If somebody calls me or texts me and I don't see it, it's okay. It's all right. I'll see it tomorrow. There are no emergencies. I should say this because this is a quote that I used to have in my office. Lack of planning on your part does not create an emergency on mine.
Thank you. Say that again. What? Say that again.
Lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. So
okay. There you go. I don't even want to go anywhere after that. I don't even feel like it's over. She just dropped the mic on that. I do want to ask you one question though, and I think in our communities, especially in our communities of color, we're not taught the benefit of career coaching until later down. And I'm like, this is something that should be introduced early.
It should be, absolutely.
In careers. Part of the transformative work that I want to do with Embrace Her Legacy is getting more colleges to understand the benefits of coaching and not waiting until people are 15, 20, 30 years down the line into the career to start the coaching. So can you talk a little bit about career coaching, what it is, and how, how you help us get happy and successful, just so the benefits of that?
Well, I consider myself a leadership coach, and the first person you lead is yourself. So it's not, I don't do just career. I'm talking about career and life. What are some of the things that you'd like to do? What are some of the things that you should be thinking about as it relates to what you like to do? And then what are you doing now and where the gaps are? What you are doing, what you've done in the past shouldn't hinder you from doing different things in the future. So I talk about that. And I'm not telling, coaches don't tell people what to do.
That part.
Coaches offer suggestions or options. Did you think about this? So I'll say, what did you do, Maria, to do such and such and such? And you'll say, I did this and I did that and I did the other. And I said, well, did you think about these other things that are out there for you that you may not have been aware of? Your decision on what you pick to do, but you need to know what's out there. So an example of that, Maria, is I do usually once a quarter. I'm doing it again in May 11th. I'm doing an Ask Marsha H session. It's an hour or so. It's $25. That is not my coaching fee.
I'm about to say, I know Marsha coaching, so y'all getting, that's like the Dollar Tree.
That's like 50% at the Dollar Tree.
Okay. I know how much Marsha charges now, so y'all better tap in. Okay.
And they get to ask any question that they want. And someone on that call, someone who registers on that call will win a private coaching session.
Wow.
That's my give back. Because I can do that. But I tell you, you'll have people complaining about $25. Okay. And then I say, you know what? Those are not the people for me.
That's not. Marsha, and talk to the importance of investing into yourself.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Talk that, like you said, $25 and but then you'll spend $25 on, happy hour. So it's just like.
That's exactly right. So it's about learning the things that you do well and learning how you sabotage yourself and being open to that. Quietly, confidentially, you can put it in your little journal. You don't have to tell a lot of people, but you need to know what it is so that you can work towards moving away from it. It's important. It's important. We need to do better for ourselves. And guess what? If you're not moving ahead, you cannot always blame it on somebody else. That's an excuse. It's what have you done lately for you to move yourself forward? You know, my tagline is moving forward with purpose. And I say that you should always be moving forward with purpose. Little steps. Take 15, there are 1,440 minutes in a day.
Whew.
Take 15 minutes to move yourself forward in some way.
And then write it down.
And then write it down.
Okay, write it down in your book, because I have something called the I did that file, and it's a file in my phone every day. And I encourage my students, my mentees, take track of what you're doing. Like,
absolutely, that's me. I don't do it on my phone because then it get lost. I put it in a book because I need to see it. I need to read it while I'm walking down the street or something. I don't know, but you do what works for you and not blame others. I cannot tell you, I have a lot of women who used to say, and they don't say it to me anymore because they know better. They used to say, I'm going to do that when my kids get grown, when my kids go to college, when my husband gets another job, when I find a husband. And I say, you know what? Hope is not a strategy, and someday is not a time frame. Let's get real here. Just do something for yourself because you have control of it. We have far more control than we give ourselves credit for.
Marsha she poured into me. Like, I'm like, hope is not a strategy, okay? And just feeling like we are in control. Marsha, I just want to end with, like, please share how people can contact you, your website, your Instagram, LinkedIn, everything, because I'm sure someone will want to reach out and just see how they can benefit from your expertise and your services further.
Great. My website is my name, MarshaHaygood.com. As is my email is my company, Marsha@StepwiseAssociates.com. LinkedIn, you can find me under my name, but I'll say this, I say it for me, but I'm telling you that you should do it always. You should never send the lazy LinkedIn message. Always do a message with it. If you don't know how to do a message on your phone, wait until you get home and do it on your computer, or press that more button because you need to add a personal message. And that personal message could be as simple as, oh, I heard you speaking with Maria, and I'd love to connect, but it should be something. If you just press that like button or connect button, that says you're lazy and you don't want to take control of your life. That's what it says to anybody, any professional person who gets that lazy message. That's what they're thinking, whether they tell you that or not. That's what they're
Marsha, you gave me that advice at the very beginning of my career. I'm talking back 2010, like when LinkedIn first hit the scene. Marsha was like, when you connect with people, don't you dare just say connect. Like, you send a note, hey, I saw you at that speaking engagement, or we volunteered together at the event. Oh, I see you're now working at such and such, and we used to work at Atlantic together. Happy to connect. So now, let me tell you, Marsha, your legacy lives on, because I teach that in our programs. I'm like, do not connect with people on LinkedIn and just hit connect. Like, send a personalized note, especially people who like you, me. I get so many requests. I'm like, who
are you? Exactly right. So that's one of the networking tips. One of the networking tips is, if you want to connect with people, say why. Say how you know them, how you heard about them. I read your book and would love to connect. Something. It should not just be that. I dare say that when you're talking about when you want to connect with someone on the other social medias, when you want to connect with them on Facebook, when you want to connect with them on Twitter, don't just hit the the heart button and the like button. Say something. Love this post. Think this is great. I agree with you 100%. Blah, blah. Let somebody know you're thinking. Not just that you're sitting there pressing buttons. You know,
Now y'all see why, Marsha. This is why. These are the women who poured into me. Okay. These are the women who have poured into me. Like, thank you.
And I say to people, if they're going on my website, marshahaygood.com, join my mailing list, because I'm putting out these kind of tips all the time. You know,
I get them.
And I'm just saying, it's a learning experience. We're all learning. I'm learning. I go on other people's webinars and listen to what they have to say. I'm going on people's podcasts to hear what they're talking about, because we should be continual learners, and that's how we become both happy and successful.
Well, ain't nothing to say after that. Nothing to say.
Get the book. Don't forget.
You get the book. Yes, get the book.
Get the workbook.
There's a workbook too. Okay, I gotta get. I'm bad. I didn't know there was a workbook.
There is a companion workbook. The Little Black Book of Success: Laws of Leadership for Black Women is considered a mentor in your pocket.
Yep.
The workbook is called Your Personal Call to Action. So it goes through every one of these chapters and it says, has this ever happened to you? If so, how have you handled it? If you had to do it over again, would you handle it differently now? If so, how? And it becomes your way of sort of, that might be what you're doing in your 15 minutes, getting out your frustration about this happened and I want to, and this is how I would do it differently now. Whatever, but it's the book and the workbook. And the workbook, for those of you people on your who contact me, if they want to get personalized copy, they'll tell me how, and they could do a Cash App and all of that stuff, and I mail it to them.
Good. What I'll do is I'll also put the link to the book inside of the, like, if you're listening on Apple or SoundCloud, Spotify, the link will be in the bio. If you're watching on YouTube, the link will be there. It'll all be. So
they can either go to Amazon and get it, or they can contact me directly, and I have them as well.
There you go. And I'm telling you, like, I don't really, I've read a lot of books over my years, and that book was probably one of my top, especially when you said mentor in your pocket. So many of us women who don't necessarily have the tools, and we're like, I just know I want to be happy and successful. I don't know what that looks like or how I'm gonna get there. I don't want to feel that way. It's so beneficial to have women who have walked the walk and talked the talk, pour back into you, and who keep it real. Because let me tell you, Marsha's not going to tell you. Marsha's going to tell you how it is. She's not going to tell you how it might be. She's going to keep it real with you, okay?
Always. It's important. It's important.
Always. So, Marsha, thank you so much for your time. I just want to be respectful and honor your time. This means so much to me. Anyone who is listening, please subscribe if you like what you hear, and definitely share this with someone. Maybe you love your job, or maybe someone hates it. Share it with them. Hit up Marsha, follow her on Instagram, LinkedIn, hit up her website, sign up for her email list. And until then, always be a woman who embraces her legacy. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to the Embrace Her Legacy podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please make sure to subscribe and visit embraceherlegacy.com to make a donation or sign up to become a part of our community of volunteers and supporters, the Embrace Her Legacy Collective. Make sure you follow us at Embrace Her Legacy to get daily inspiration and join our movement. Thank you for listening, and remember, you're enough, you're worthy, and you're a phenomenal woman who embraces her legacy.